Jobina, do you know what the, I guess, an acronym OES stands for?
I do not. Edify me. What does it stand for?
One episode stand. That's our. It's our show. That's the show we've been doing for 7 years of our lives.
Stop it right now.
So on our show, we typically discuss the first episode of the pilot of a new television show. But this time we're doing something different. Because we have enjoyed Beef so much, and we did. The last episode we did was our discussion of Beef, and we really just talked about the first episode. But we enjoyed the series so much that we've decided to continue the discussion. So if you haven't heard the initial discussion, go back and listen to that, and then now we're going to continue the discussion here because we have so much to say because we liked it so much.
That's right.
You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's start the show. Hey, everyone. I'm Luther Palmer.
And I'm Jobina Scott.
And we are here just making it up as we go. We don't have a direction. We don't have a focus. But I reached out to Jobina and I said, we have to talk more about this show because it was amazing. Like, in a word, it was amazing. So we are diverting. And what people don't know is we came to one episode stand after a couple misfires. We had a couple other podcast ideas that we have recorded episodes of that didn't work. And one of them was a recap show where we would recap movies and television shows. We're like, we don't like that. So we're going to do, I wouldn't call this a recap of Beef, but it's a re-emergence, what do you call when you dive into something? A re-insertion,
Is it an insertion? I think we just loved this show so much. We couldn't be like the Rolling Stones we are. We had to dive into the full series because there's so much there.
Immersion.
Re-immersion. There you go.
Into the show. Okay, so let's start with some simple stuff. Like, who were your favorite characters? And let me just say up front, this is gonna be spoilers, so if you have not seen it, I will hit a pause. I would also say some of the content isn't the best for children.
Right.
So
your little ones are nearby.
Yeah.
It's time to push pause.
Or if you keep it real with your little ones, like if you keep it all the way real, this might be the episode for you two to do some serious bonding. So who were your favorite characters?
Okay, it is going to be no surprise that I loved Amy. I love Ali Wong. Like, I have watched all of her stand-up comedy specials, and to me, this show captures an essence of who she at least says she is.
Right.
Especially the connection to her last special and this character. So I loved seeing Amy kind of come to life and all the complexities of who she is.
Right.
She is my absolute standout favorite of the entire series.
It was interesting. One of the things I love about this show, and this is gonna sound like a love fest the whole time probably. We're like, I love this. But one of the things I enjoyed about this show is I felt like this show took me on a journey. Because very early you see that we have these two protagonists, and just by the nature of being a viewer, you kind of root for them, right? Like you kind of like see them, but then around episode 4 and 5, it's a 10 episode series. You're like, these are not good people. Like
No.
These people are deeply flawed. They are the cause of a lot of their own problems. And I just sort of felt like I'm not rooting for them anymore. Like I'm still interested in them, but I'm not rooting for them because they have they're fucking shit up like all
All the
the
time.
time.
Well, and I feel like the moment you know like how bad they really are is when
Right.
they start to come together. So Amy
Yeah.
tries to blackmail him into like taking the fall for the whole
Right,
road rage thing.
right.
But then when he turns his cousin in,
Right.
I was like, oh my God,
Right,
these people
right.
are awful. They're awful.
Well, and that's the funny thing. To me, the cousin was one of my favorite characters.
It's great. Don't you love him?
So I think there was the main two sort of protagonists, right? And then there's their immediate people around them is the brother Paul and the husband, and we get into their lives a little more. But then there's this like third level of character.
Yes.
Like the mother-in-law, like
Fumi.
the cousin.
Oh, Fumi was so interesting.
We don't really get a full look at their life, but we get enough to like we kind of see the impact they have on the main characters. And the cousin was just so he was like he kept it real, like he was easy to trust people, like he was like your family, I love you, like he was easy to forgive people. I just enjoyed everything about him. And I can't remember. Maybe he's been other stuff. I should have looked it up, but maybe he's been other things that I've liked him in.
Okay.
But I liked him. I also liked Paul.
Oh, I love Paul.
Which was so
you know why I like
because it was so interesting because even in the first when we did one episode Stand, we talked about how I said like Paul wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but it turned out that Paul was actually a smart person,
a smart guy whose life got derailed by his jealous brother.
And this was the journey they took us on. Like they took us on a journey of the main characters, but Paul had his own journey, and the husband had his own. Like we thought the husband was this plain, simple, like simpleton, but he had this depth and he had this emotional affair. Where are you on emotional affairs? Because he had this emotional affair, and then she had a physical affair. Do you think they're comparable or no?
I just don't even know why we call. I mean, I don't know why we call it an affair. Like you're having an emotional connection. I don't know. Like certainly no spouse wants their spouse to be involved with anyone else, emotionally or physically. But I think clearly like a different line has been crossed when you're having a physical relationship with someone else. I don't know.
I always found the distinction strange because I think our society places such a value or not even a value, such a high mark on physical intercourse, right? Like intercourse is this huge thing. And sometimes I'm like, is it though? Like what really happened, right? Like if I go to lunch with someone, right? If I have sex with someone, like I think we believe that sex is this end all be all that I'm not sure it is.
And it may not be.
And I think we minimize emotional connection because that can oftentimes be more powerful
and maybe
than
it's,
a one-all physical connection.
Yeah. Well, but does not one lead to the other? Like, I think that's why they've been, inextricably linked. I also think that, like, if you think about just our backgrounds, our Christian, puritanical backgrounds.
Right.
Like we were taught like this premium value on that physical experience that really was only supposed to be had between two people ever in life.
Yeah.
And so I think so many people share that set of values and beliefs. And so it does seem like the absolute worst thing that you can do when you are married to someone who you're supposed to only be having that experience with.
Right. One of the 12 books that I'm going to write that is in my head is about sex and how we like Christianity thinks like sex is one thing and sex is not that. It's just I think emotional cheating. I'm not sure. So what they depicted in the show, I don't know that was really strong emotional cheating. Like it was like the helper woman at work, and they didn't really show the
Yeah.
depth of it. I was like, but I could
Well, and
see
was
how
he
emotional
that
cheating can be
emotionally
bad.
connected to her? I think he was mostly like, she's hot.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'm into her. And they just hadn't yet had the opportunity for a
Right,
physical affair.
but no, because he made it very much seem like he wasn't that type of person. Like he wasn't the type of person who would cheat.
Yeah, but I think the premium, like the most important thing you said is he made it seem like he wasn't that person. Like, I think he was like, this young lady who works with my wife is pretty hot.
The other funny thing about Paul is they had this scene where they were playing basketball at the church, like potluck, whatever, church
Yes.
league, and they could actually play. Like,
These
as a
guys are
person watching, I
good.
was like, these guys can actually play. And I just remember there's a couple scenes in the Fresh Prince of Bel Air where they're playing basketball, and they're all horrible. Like Will Smith.
He cannot play.
Cannot play basketball. And it reminded me of, so I spent 2 summers in Boston at MIT, and I would go to the gym. And I hate to use this term, like I hate to say Asian kids because, they're all from distinct countries. I just didn't know where they were from.
Right.
But the Asian kids there were bawling. And I'm
We're
from Dayton,
killing
Ohio,
y'all.
and we certainly have diverse, but we're not super diverse. So I had
Right.
never really played on a court full of Asian kids before. Like that. I never experienced that, and they were bawling. And
They're
that
killing
scene just
y'all.
reminded me of that, and like my like Asian kids can play basketball too. Like like my ignorance, being young
Right.
and sheltered in a world where I didn't have that exposure, was like, yeah, of course they can play basketball.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the church because I thought the church scenes in this show were so, like, they were so accurate. Like, I mean,
Right.
to me, anytime I see a movie with a black church scene, I'm like, wah,
Uh-huh.
wah. Like, it's
Right.
so
Right.
stereotypical. There's like the choir and the preacher, and like,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't feel real. Like, I
Uh-huh.
feel like you could walk into any contemporary Christian church and
Yes.
experience they made it
Yeah.
so
They nailed it.
real. They nailed it. Like,
Nailed
I
it.
was like, I love that song. I mean, I was like, praise and worship.
And
Hands raised. I loved it.
and Danny like getting his guitar out and playing.
And play.
It's like,
And I
come
mean,
on,
they
man.
were singing too. I'm like, I wonder if that was dubbed or if he can really sing because they were also
Right.
really singing.
Okay, so let's talk through some scenes before because we're gonna spend some time on like big picture stuff. Like what scenes
Oh, wait,
stood
I
out
got to
to
tell you
you?
one more character I
Oh,
love.
okay, yeah.
I love Junie. I love the little girl
The little girl.
because, like, I know you hate child
I
actors.
hate them.
But I'm going to interject that I really like Junie because Junie was like peculiar. She had like her own ways. It was hard for Amy to mother her. And I think so many women are struggling with like what I thought motherhood would be like versus like what it's
Yeah.
really like. And it's
Right.
hard. And like my kid does this thing I don't understand. And I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I just love that little piece that Junie brought to the show.
Well, I do hate child actors. And
I know you
didn't-
do,
And I did not
but I'm going to
appreciate
force
any
you
of
to
the
talk
scenes.
about her.
None of the scenes Junie was in, I appreciate it. Like I just don't. They're not. Like me, child choirs, child actors. They're just not good. I don't appreciate them. But you make an interesting point because in the final episode when they're at the bottom of the cliff and they're talking and Amy talks about how she thought Junie would solve all her problems.
Yeah.
And I'll get into what I saw some of the bigger themes are is that I didn't feel like Amy was connected to anyone in her
Right.
life.
That's
And she
so true.
thought, I'm going to have a
I'm going
child
to get this connection.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to get this connection. And she was disillusioned, like you say, that mothers get disillusioned because she was like, as Amy gets older, this love is conditional. It's becoming more and more conditional.
Yeah. Well, and she just thought the connection was going to be hardwired, automatic. And I
Yeah.
think so many women think that. And then if
Yeah.
you don't have that, then you start to think, what's wrong with me? Like something's clearly got to be wrong
Right,
with me.
right.
If I don't have this instant, almost like biological connection to this person who I brought to this world, and yet like something's not firing.
And the child was also the catalyst for the whole big issue at the end because she got in the wrong car. And I'm just like, kids, just
Stay with your
go
parents.
away. Like, just like get this kid out
Not
of
go
here. Get off the screen.
I just love
Okay.
though how unbothered she was by being kidnapped. She was
Right.
like,
They're
"Hi, guys."
singing and this is the best day ever. So what were some memorable scenes? And maybe I'll start because one of the most memorable scenes was when Amy was in that hotel and had invited that guy to have sex with her that she met playing Yahoo chess and didn't show her face.
Oh my gosh. I was like, Amy, you got some deep rooted issues, my love. Like, I was thinking she was, a little bit different with the whole gun scene, but I'm like, okay,
Yes,
Amy,
yes.
there's some roots here.
I mean, so it's funny because you're watching the scene and you're trying to figure out what's happening. And you're like, okay, wait, what's happening here? Wait, what? Wait, what is happening here?
Really happening here?
Like you're just like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I found it interesting the insertion of sex in her life.
Yeah.
I don't think that Danny had any sexual. I mean, there was that girl he was interested in, but there wasn't. I don't think he had any sexual scenes. Well, no, he did because he was masturbating to that picture of her. Remember?
Of her, and that's how he discovered it was her.
Yes.
He
But
saw
that
the
scene
tattoo.
that scene in the hotel, I was just like, wow, like
And I'm like, this is on TV, okay?
and they didn't really explain it, which I thought was interesting. They sort of just left it out there as to say like she has issues. She was right. She was masturbating with the gun.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I thought she was suicidal at first. Then I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's not where this is going.
That is not where it was going.
Yeah, she wants to continue to live and feel great.
Yeah, and then she did cheat, right?
She did cheat with Paul.
So yeah, it was I think there were like 3 or 4 times where they alluded to her sexual sort of dysfunction.
Her kinks. Well, I
Her
mean,
kinks, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right to like if they were kinks, but they were also rooted in I think her basic feeling of I am a bad person. And therefore like there's some things I don't deserve. There's some things I can't experience. Like I think there just was a lot there with her that I just love how the show developed her as a character.
Yeah. And it's funny because I had said I would one night stand her because I had seen the gun scene. I was like, oh, there's some interesting
like,
things. But now I'm like, I don't know, Amy. Like I don't like I
might not be able to.
I might not be able to enter into that. Like you have a lot of things going on that you need to work out. And I'm not sure I want to enable any further down that dark alley. What scenes for you stood out?
Okay, so there are many that I loved. I mean, I know we're talking about the full series, but there were just so many scenes in the first episode that I loved because it solidified this rivalry, this sort of revenge quest between the two of them. And my favorite scene at the end of the first episode is when he peed all over her bathroom. And she is furious. She runs outside, is running after him, and he turns back and he's laughing, gets in his car, and she realizes who he is. Like, to me, that was like, it's on. Yeah. Like, I know this thing is going to be an amazing, like, crazy ride of the two of them trying to get after each other. So it was truly one of my favorite because that realization, it's just set the whole thing in motion.
And I remember we talked early on about, first episode, right? Our podcast is built around first episodes and what shows can do well and what they don't do well. Like this show was so well done because we were invested. Like the viewers were completely and utterly invested. I don't know anyone who could just watch one episode and be like, I don't want to see where this is going.
Yeah, you're going to want to watch the whole thing. The other one that was so interesting to me, Luther, was when Danny, like I didn't realize, so of course, opening scene, Danny is trying to return these grills or some sort of grill he's bought from the Foresters, the fake Costco. But then when you realize like what he was trying to do with them, I'm like, what a way to commit suicide. But he
Yeah.
thought that he not only deserved to die, but he thought he deserved to die so painfully. So he was
Yeah.
going to like burn himself
No, no,
alive.
I
Like, what
thought,
was he trying to
yeah,
do?
I didn't, yeah, I thought maybe it was the gas. But then I don't know, did he need the gas? Like, I didn't connect what he was doing with the kerosene grills
Yeah, I couldn't understand
to
it,
kill
but
himself.
to me, I was like, whoa, this guy also has some deep-seated issues. And what it connected me to was his like shame. And people talk about shame, but like he had such a sense of shame for what happened to his parents.
Right,
And
right,
his whole life was really on a quest to eradicate that situation and come out
right.
of the shameful state that he was in for having disappointed him. And it
Mm-hmm.
made me think about, I mean, obviously, most people's experiences are not likely as extreme in having disappointed their parents, right? They lost their business in the United States. They had to go back. They had to leave the United States and he wanted to bring them home. But I mean, I feel like all of us in some ways grapple with that parent expectation. How do I live up to that expectation?
Right,
Have I
right,
disappointed them? How do I manage that in life?
right.
And so that scene kind of brought me there.
And we hear all the time that the immigrant experience with their parents, like with if the parents immigrated, that experience is
It's that much more
really it's
intense.
that much
Yeah.
more intense. Yeah. But the thing with the parents, this is another scene where the cousin was involved because they talk about he went to jail. He was like, who knew you could counterfeit baby formula?
I know. Well, and all the counterfeit businesses that he was in. I love the massage chairs, the rice crackers, all of it, all of it, all of it.
But speaking of parents, though, I mean, she had this powerful scene where she's confessing to her husband that she cheated, and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" And so there's two moments in this scene. First, he says, "I feel like I'm married to a stranger," and it's just like marriage and how well do you know someone, and being married 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, and people change over that time. And she talks about how she says, like, I'm a bad person and I hid that from you because you're so good. That's why I chose you. And I was just like, wow, like what an interesting scene.
Yes.
And I guess so. Let me fast forward because I'll get into one of the deeper themes here. When I say she wasn't connected to anyone, right? This is why. Because she had these walls up and she felt like she was a bad person and she never really wanted to engage with anyone, including her husband.
Right.
And she put up this fake facade, and then here it's
It's
crashing
all
down.
crashing down. Yeah.
And she's confessing, and he's like, I don't know who you are. And I just think about so many married couples who may not know each other because
Yeah.
they're pretending, and I felt it was a super unfortunate scene, but I think something that a lot of people will probably experience.
Well, I don't know. I had a really different take on that scene.
Oh.
Like, I don't really know who you are. I'm like, you know mostly who she is. Like, you experience this person every day of your life. And to me, everybody's character, everybody's personality, everybody's way of showing up in the world has facets, right? I feel like he knew facets of who she is because we're not all one
Oh
thing.
man, this is tough though. Because so I know someone going through a divorce right now, and he said to me, I kind of saw cute clues, but you don't know, right? Like you don't really know a person. Like, can you ever really know a person?
I don't think you can know a person fully, but I don't think one, like you're learning one side of them that you didn't see. I don't think that negates the pieces of them that you did see and you did know. Like he knew she was an insecure mother. That didn't change because of what she just told him.
Right.
Like you knew that about her. Like I think
He
people
knew she
are
was
complex.
masturbating with a gun.
You knew that. You changed the passcode.
Right, you changed the passcode.
Right. You knew she
Right.
had some kinks. You knew that. So I think, yes,
Yeah.
it's hard to fully know every part of someone's
Right.
character. But if you are interfacing with a spouse, it's too, like, how can you hide everything about yourself?
But maybe it's hard to know the depth, right? I mean,
Yes,
people
I would
people-
agree with that.
because people haven't even for themselves gone to therapy to figure out what's going on
they are.
and
That's
who
right.
they are, right? So I think it's like he could have never imagined she would go
No.
to these depths over
Yeah.
a road rage incident, right? Like,
I know.
like he didn't know that she had some attachment issues, right? I mean, I don't know. That was interesting. But the other part of the scene that landed for me was when she said, I've been like this my entire life. I want to blame my parents, but I think it's just me.
It's just me. Yeah.
And the show had gone back and showed that her
Yeah.
parents never really wanted her.
Yep.
And she sensed that and felt that. And her dad cheated on her mom, and her mom was like, "Don't tell me about it. We don't talk about those things." And so there was a problematic family life. So she absolutely could have quote unquote blamed her parents, but she was like, "It's just me."
Well, to me, that made me think about the whole nature versus nurture, like argument. Like, who are you really? Do you come here as who you are, and your parents have minimal impact on who you turn out to be, or like, do you come here pretty blank and your parents are imbuing sort of all these values and traits in you that you will display into the future?
Yeah, it's that one. There's a gardener versus this other thing, and the gardener is like, this is going to be a tomato, right? Like, I can't make this tomato something else, but I'm going to prune it. I'm going to help it grow, but it's going to be a tomato. It's not going to be a watermelon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like gardener versus some other type of parenting or the other type is people who think I can steer this child in the exact way they're going to be. And I think about with me, like I'm recording in my room right now, right? The room is a hot mess. And I've always been messy. Like my mom tried to get me to clean my room and this and this. I'm just gonna be this way.
So am I. I feel your pain. Well, and the crazy thing is that I'm recording in my office, and my office is perfectly clean, but only because I was having people over and I had to get like all these bins and put stuff in it and get it in the garage so that people could come in here. Oh my goodness. My brain is just wired that way. Like, I don't know. My dad used to be like, why can't you just put it back where you found it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why.
I don't know. And sometimes I'll be like, I should probably put this back. Yeah, I won't.
No, I'll do it later. And who is it hurting? Like, who is it hurting really? Like, and this is interesting because I feel like people, when you say opposites attract, when it comes to like clean versus messy, a messy person is always going to marry a super clean person and aggravate the heck out of that person for the remainder of their life. Like, even yesterday, we had some people, like a play date for my kid. We had some people over, and the house was pristine except for our bathroom. And my husband was like, yeah, but our bathroom is not clean. And I'm like,
what?
Who cares? But I know I get on his nerves. I feel so bad for him.
I saw this comedian who was saying, like, he was like, I like things at a 5, like in terms of messiness, right? I'm at a 5. Yeah. He said my wife likes things at like a 7, like clean. So she's not like a clean freak, but she likes 7. So she was like 6 is where we're both miserable. Like, we're both miserable because I feel oppressed by her need to clean more, and she feels like we are living in total chaos because it's not up to a 7.
Pigsty.
One of the scenes to me that was absolutely hilarious and an epic burn was when he had failed at the tree cutting business. And he told his boy, he was like, oh, I'll take you home. And his friend was like, no, I got a friend coming to pick me up. Don't worry about it.
No, this is his brother. He was like, oh no, my friend's coming to get me.
And then the Uber driver came up and said, Paul.
Uber for Paul.
It was like,
and Paul just looks at him and gets in. I would rather
take an Uber
home
than even be in the same car with you after today.
Okay, but here's what that scene made me think. It made me think about the first time I took an Uber. So I was in
Oh,
Chicago.
right.
I was at a professional conference, and I have had this friend that I've worked with in a number of different capacities, who is always like 10 steps ahead of me when it comes to technology. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember being on a New York trip with him where he is like, "Hey Siri," and he's like getting directions, and I'm like, "What are you doing? What is that?" So he's
Right.
like, "Come on, we're going to take an Uber." And I'm like, "Wait, we're going to do what?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're just going to get," I'm like, "We're going to get in a stranger's
So you
car."
hadn't even heard of Uber.
I had never heard of it. Now, it wasn't like it had been out for a really long time. It was
Right, right,
relatively
right.
new. But he's like, "Yeah, so we're just going to get," and this guy pulls up in a Toyota Camry and drives us to our destination. And I
Right.
was like, "What is this? I do not understand why we're doing this." And of course, now it is all that I do. But yeah, I was convinced that we were going to be murdered. 100%.
Yeah, my first Uber, I was actually in Korea. It's funny because this show is sort of a Korean show. I was in Korea and I was like, I don't know how to call a cab or take the public transportation. I was like, oh, I mean, install Uber. And I installed Uber and it was like click, click, click. Me and the driver never said anything to each other.
You got in, you got
Yeah,
out.
I got in, I got out, I paid. I was like, this is amazing. Like my first experience with it was like, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever.
Wow.
You don't have to worry about
I
like tip and
I know
like
all
the
that.
meter running as you're driving and you don't know if he's taking the
Yes.
fastest route. Like I remember I was in where was I? I was in Istanbul and I took a cab, right? And I had been warned that the cabs will take the longer route, right? So I'm a map. I love maps. I love looking at maps. So if I'm going to Istanbul, I know the city.
know where
I
you're
know.
supposed to
So
be.
I knew like he should be turning left here, and the guy turned right and went the long way. When I got there, I was like, I'm not paying you that fare. I was like, you went the long way. And he knew, like, even though he didn't speak the same language,
He's
like he knew he
busted.
was
Yeah.
busted. So I paid him like
Yeah.
half, right? But like Uber, you don't have that issue. Like there's
don't
a
have
map,
that
like
issue at
both
all.
of you are looking at the same map
Right. Like where are we supposed to go?
of where we're supposed to turn, right?
Okay, I'm also just going to point out that my two examples with Uber were New York and Chicago, and yours were Istanbul and Korea. I'm like, okay, very different travel experiences here.
For work. Well, that's largely because in Dayton, I think Dayton, Ohio was probably the last city the Uber came to. Any more scenes that stuck out to you?
So I liked the scene where Amy and her husband are at that mushroom dinner because, like, it just to me
I forgot about that.
put like sometimes the pretense that happens in these spaces with like just incredible wealth, and she is like, what the heck is going on? But then I loved it that Jordan, who was the person who was hosting this dinner, was like, I don't even like mushrooms. Like it's just I'm just doing this thing. So I loved it because their little side dialogue, like that is like
Right.
the quintessential husband and wife, like what is happening here? What are we doing?
Jordan met the most unfortunate death of
Man.
anyone. I cannot recall a more unfortunate death than what she
Terrible.
experienced. Her own safe
Terrible.
room.
I mean, just it turned on her in a major way. But then, how about Jordan being in a relationship with her sister-in-law? I was like, okay.
I just think like as they were writing this show, they probably had so much fun writing this show.
Oh my gosh. They were like, they came up with their absolute best.
Right.
It was amazing.
Oh man. So speaking of this being a Korean show, I thought to myself, oh, like remember that movie Parasite that won Best Picture? Mm-hmm. So I said,
I didn't see it. I'm just going to confess.
oh, you didn't see it?
No, I mean, I remember hearing about it. But
It's
I did not
really
see it.
good. It's
gonna
really
watch
good.
it.
But what that movie and this show have in common is that boy do they escalate. They start out like this is an interesting little premise, and then it goes from 1 to 100, and that movie Parasite goes from 1 to 100. So I said, like, oh, like, I wonder if there's any commonality, like, if there's any overlap in actors or directors.
Writers,
So I
yeah.
Googled Parasite and beef.
Okay.
And, of course, Google
Turns out.
showed me, well, no, they actually showed me that there are tapeworms that commonly infect cows. because
Please
Parasite.
stop. Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not what I wanted
what I meant.
to learn.
That's not what I meant.
Oh, my.
But that happens sometimes when you're Googling and you go down a rabbit hole and you sort of forget the context of things, and they show you, like, it actually happens sometimes too with porn. Like you'll think like I'm gonna look up, some word, and then you'll get some pornish type things, and you'll be like, oh, this is
That's
porn
a thing.
category. Like, this is a thing. But that was funny. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if you caught this, but the titles of the episodes
Oh, I love them.
have very deep meanings. They're all parts of quotes, and I wrote down a couple. And the funny thing is, the interesting thing about this show is each title is itself a whole ass rabbit hole that you can climb down into.
Wow.
So one is, the one I found the most interesting was The Great Fabricator. So episode 9 is called The Great Fabricator. And the quote is, attachment is the great fabricator of illusions. Reality can be obtained only by someone who is detached. And it's by this French philosopher named Simone Weil. Yeah. Very interesting. And that episode in Beef is when, like, everything's come crashing down and they find themselves alone. Danny thinks Paul is dead. Amy's daughter is gone. She's looking at this like he's gotten emergency custody of the child. And, like, they are now detached. And this quote sort of suggests, like, attachment is the great fabricator of illusions. Like they can now see very clearly what they've done. But this quote is by this woman named Simone Weil, and, like, she is this, like, early 1900 20th century philosopher, and she has this amazing, interesting life, and, like, going down the rabbit hole of who she is and who her life is was just an enjoyment. And every single episode is connected to a quote from an interesting person in history.
Okay, now I'm going to look them all up.
Yeah,
Yeah, what you're pointing out, though, is how intentional this show was.
Yes.
Like, every single thing.
Yes.
Like, I thought the titles of the shows were interesting, but I didn't have any idea that they're connected to a quote that's related to a really interesting person. Like, that is just an incredible example of how thoughtful and intentional the writers, creators, producers of this show really were.
So I'm just gonna give you a couple of other. I'm gonna finish the quotes of a couple other episodes. So one episode is called "I Am a Cage," and the rest of the quote is, "It's I am a cage searching for a bird."
Oh my gosh.
One is figures of light. Like, the last one is figures of light, and it says one does not. So this is a quote by Carl Jung, which is a famous philosopher. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And this alludes to this idea that we project how great we are. And he was saying, like, we project what is light about us, what is good about us. And he's saying, like, we get enlightenment by making the darkness conscious, like by connecting with who we are, even the darkest part of ourselves. And that last episode, when they were at the bottom of this cliff, and they finally opened up, about who they were. I'm not a good person, right? You're projecting this good into the world. I'm good. I'm smart. I'm funny. I'm a clever artist. And she's like, it's all bullshit. It's all a facade. And that's where they found real connection.
Well, I have to tell you, I loved their scenes in the wilderness. And to me, the very, very best one was where they're so they're so impacted by those berries that they ate that he's her and she's him. I thought that was brilliant.
Right.
But yeah, I love that quote about light and darkness. I think it's absolutely true.
But what I realized when I watched that last episode the second time is they don't have any friends.
No.
They don't have a single friend.
Wow.
And we talked before about making friends as adults. We talked before on a previous episode, and we said how hard it is.
It is
And I think a part of what's so difficult is the vulnerability it takes to say,
That's
I
exactly
don't have
right.
all this shit together.
Yeah.
I'm struggling.
Truly
I'm a
struggling.
bad person. I did this horrible thing to my brother. Oh my God. Like when that scene happened and he
Right.
tossed his college applications. Like, I'm a horrible person. But that's where they actually found connection. And that's
Connection with
when
each
they
other.
became
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. Well, and I dare I say it's going to be more than friends. Like when she crawled into the hospital bed with
Right,
him,
right,
I was
right.
like, she loves him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was romantic love, though. Were you
You
going
wait.
there?
I totally.
Huh.
I think so. I
I,
think so.
I, I thought they were making a bigger point about just human connection. Just the desire to have some person who truly knows
Gets
you.
you. Yeah. But then don't you think if you have that, you are totally going to fall in love with that person?
Well, this goes back to the emotional, there's
Yeah.
an emotional cheating and there's a physical, like, are you, I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, I guess there's this age old argument about can men and women be friends, right? Can you be emotionally connected to someone without it being romantic? And I think when I was young, I said no. As I've gotten
Yeah.
older, I believe
Yeah.
you can. So I think
Yeah.
it's possible for them to have this very deep emotional connection and not
Yeah.
go romantic. I don't know.
Well, and I just think that the writers probably want you to question that though, so that
Yeah,
you will come
yeah.
back next season to see.
Right. Well, you think there's going to be more seasons?
I hope so.
I can't imagine they would want to.
Do more.
I
Maybe I would love to see more. But I want more and more and more of this show.
I never even considered they would come back and do more. It just seemed like a complete story. I don't even know if I'd
Who
want more.
knows?
I mean, right. I want more, but I'm not sure I want more because it's so good in its current form.
Well, I mean, I would love like I don't know. Maybe these guys could like find another pair that are on a quest to destroy each other, and like a new
Oh,
interesting
right,
version
right,
of
right.
another beef.
Right.
I would
But
watch that.
but the thing about this, the thing that made the show so good was that we did not know initially the depths. Right. And I think
Not
if they
at
did
all.
another show, we'd be thinking, okay, where are we going to go? What's going to happen? Who's good, who's bad? Like this show came as such a mystery. Right.
Yeah.
And I actually wish that this show, I kind of compared it to Fleischman in its depth. Right.
Yes.
But the major difference between these two shows and how they were executed is Fleischman was released 1 week at a time. So you had a
Right.
week to digest and talk about it and discuss it. And this one, they just dumped it all at once. I wish they had stretched this one out
Yeah.
so that each episode could breathe on its
Yeah.
own and
Yeah.
you could really get into talking about each episode. All right, so deeper thing. What things connected for you?
So I mean, I've already told you about the whole motherhood piece, but I think it
Yeah.
then connects to this whole like thinking that milestones in life are going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Like Amy was supremely unhappy, and yet she had all of the things that I would say most people aspire to. Like many people, I wouldn't say all people, many people want to get married, have kids, have a successful career, have a beautiful home, have plenty of money, have incredible opportunities. Like she had all of those things.
Yeah.
And she was so unhappy. And that to me really connects because we're always in pursuit. And I think that this show really put on full display that like being in pursuit of things that people think are going to make you happy, that someone's told you are going to make you happy, don't often deliver. And so how do you create and find happiness differently? Like, and is pursuing happiness the right thing? Like, I mean, life is going to have disappointments and challenges and I don't know, like that to me just really sat with me. And how each person's version of life, like someone else was jealous of it. Because as much as Amy had, she was looking at this is Jordan's sister-in-law and saying like, you have an amazing life because you get to stay home with your kid. And she was thinking like, if I could stay home with Junie, I could really have this incredible connection. I wouldn't have all this stress and the pressure that she had to make her family successful and keep her family afloat. So yeah, that really sat with me.
Yeah, and there's that scene too where Danny and her are together outside of some party or something, and he says, "I just want to know if I got to get to where you are." Remember, like he was like, "I'm killing myself to get to where you are. I got to know, is it is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
And then she said, everything fades. Nothing
Everything.
lasts. And it's just like, wow. Like, and I don't even know if he can receive that, right? When you're poor, you just want money. And rich people are sitting there telling you, money's not going to make you happy.
Solve every problem.
You can't hear that. I don't think you can hear that when you're poor.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, then Paul also has this perspective of like, he tells her, oh, I'm going to get where you are. And he talks about how easy. He thinks it's going to be easy to become a millionaire. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, this takes incredible hard work and dedication. You don't have any of the skills necessary to get where I am. You're just really pretty.
Yeah. You just, that was the beginning of the downfall for them, right? Because she's like, get out. Right?
Yeah, get out of here.
And I guess I have a couple wealthy friends who lament the fact that people think it's easy. And they think, but there's also this, I worked for this, and a lot of times you're like, did you though? I mean, Amy did, right? But even Amy confesses to being a fraud at the end. Yeah. She's like, I don't really know plants. I just make it up. and maybe the work. Maybe the work wasn't so hard, but the facade was hard, right? Keeping that facade.
What about you?
So for me, it was the lack of friendship, the lack of connection. She didn't have a place that she called home. She didn't feel like anything was home, because Danny even says to her at the end, like, "Oh, well, Junie and your husband are home," and she's like, "I don't know." Like, there's no person to which she could just lay her head back on their legs and just be. And I just like I it just feels like the universe keeps telling me that I need to do better at human connection, and I'm pretty good at it.
You're a connector.
I'm a connector, but there's a limit, right? There's a limit to all the connections, and it just feels like the universe is saying, take off this facade, right? These figures of light, right? And get in there with someone, right? And I'm married, right? So I have this partner who I've been married to for 15 years, but even still, right? Like, I'm just a person who's a little bit closed off. And I think it's funny because there's a part of me that's closed off, but everything else is up for grabs, like it's open, right? So people think like, oh, you're super open. I'm like, like, actually, I'm more open than most people, but there's places in me that no one will ever get to, right? So I have this, I don't want to call it a facade, but I have this image that people are like, oh, you're open and you're direct and you're honest. And I'm like, I am. I'm all those things. But at the same time, I'm not vulnerable at all. And I think that's the line, right? Here are the things about me that if I shared would make me vulnerable. Those things never get shared. The other stuff, because I do have a lot of self-confidence, I can share a lot of other things that other people would find to be vulnerable, but they're not vulnerable to me. Yeah. But I don't think I'm more vulnerable than them.
But you're like, I haven't crossed my line of vulnerability.
I haven't crossed my line. And I just thought, man, I remember when I was sort of walking away from Christianity, people were like, oh, well, God's going to humble you to get to the point where you need him. And I thought, well, that's a weird thing for him to do. Like, that is like, why would that be his approach?
And that would make me love him. I felt that way about sororities and fraternities. I was like, so you're going to beat me up, and then I'm going to become your best friend for life. Miss me on that.
But in this show, I felt like the universe, right, conspired to take them to their lowest point, to say, you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to open up and share, and it like forced human connection on these two people. And I'm like, man, I don't want to have to get to that extreme point before I become vulnerable with someone. Like, can I do it in the light of day, or do I have to be at the lowest point? So I really have been thinking about that a lot.
Yeah. So I so appreciate what you just shared, because for me, like, I think there's something about the pursuit of connection that makes me feel uncomfortable. So it's like, I have a small number of friends, because I'm like, to me, there's something about I guess it's like the the myth of it having to be really natural and easy. And I'm like, if it's not natural and easy, like,
right.
should I even be doing it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know.
and what I talk to, I have a group of cousins that I talk to all the time. And what I tell them is a show or movie is good if it generates conversation and generates thought. And I cannot think of, and I would say this one for me generated more thought than even Fleischman. Like this one,
same. Oh, absolutely.
This one just like as much thought as Fleischman kind of created and like, oh wow, this is an interesting aspect and connected to my own life. Like this one far outdid that.
Oh,
which is why we're here talking about it now.
Same.
Okay, so let's end on this. Marry, Kill, One Night Stand. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna choose new characters. I'm going to ask you about the husband.
The husband. I knew you were going to give him to me, and I'm going to have to murder him.
No.
I did not find his character appealing in any way. Like, if I'm about to tell you that I was involved in an intense road rage incident, and before I can say it, you tell me to get out my gratitude journal, I'm getting out the knife. Like, I can't.
That's why I was saying, like, these characters went on a journey. Like, I thought he did come across as patronizing this, but then he did kind of turn.
I mean, I understood him more at the end.
But still,
I don't know that I liked him more at the end. Oh my gosh.
Poor guy.
Okay, poor guy. I can't even remember his name.
Right.
I'm like, what was his character's name? No, I'm not here for it.
Oh man.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you Jordan.
Oh, the billionaire. Was she a billionaire? Like, did you say that?
She was. Yeah.
I liked Jordan. I'm gonna marry Jordan. Not just because she's rich, but she just had a zest for life, and I think she was also aware of how her finances allowed her to be more free than other people. I don't recall her. I mean, I liked her. Yeah, I'd marry her. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in for Jordan. Did you like her as a character?
I liked her as a character. Like, I thought she was really interesting. And I mean, she was also very much herself. Like, I felt like she was her true self.
Right.
Like every scene.
Okay. Anything else that you want to discuss?
I mean, there's so much. I loved the show so much. I'm sure I will be talking about it and thinking about new themes for weeks and weeks to come. I loved it.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you all for listening to One Episode Stand, this weird recap of Beef.
This is like a 10-episode stand.
a 10-episode stand. That's exactly what it is. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to the podcast to be alerted when new episodes drop. If you're listening on iTunes, please give us a rating. The theme music is Freedom by Paradox Hip Hop. We'll be back next time with another series premiere. We will return to One Episode Stand. Jobina, let's end on this. Every story has a moral. What was the moral of this show?
Oh, God. How can I even narrow it down? I don't think I can do it. Oh, God. No, I can't do it. You tell me the moral of the show.
The moral of the show is that a Yahoo chess opponent might invite you to a hotel room where she is covered by a blanket. So get out those chessboards, folks.
So get on Yahoo Chess. It could work for you.
Right. I wonder if Yahoo Chess had an uptick in players after that episode dropped. All right, everybody.
Bye, everybody.